I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and I'm with the Aurora FFA chapter, and I'm here with Paul Hunefelt today. First off, would you be able to share with me a couple of the background aspects of your operation?
The farm here was first homesteaded by my great-grandfather, Carl F. Hunefeld, and he raised about 10 kids just a couple miles to the east of us. And then of those 10 children, my grandfather was the only one that remained here after the 30s kind of weeded out a number of them because of the drought and the depression times. And so my grandfather farmed, and then a great uncle had owned this ground here, but he lost it, was foreclosed on. And my uncle Wesley was able to, at that time, resume renting it, farming it. And then in the mid 40s, purchased the first part of it back into the family. And it's kind of interesting that they gave him the sale or the loan on one condition, that he get married within a year. And so he already had a girl that they were planning to marry, and so a little of her savings went into the down payment, and they locked the deal up and kept it in the family. So anyway, my father then farmed kind of together with my uncle, or they were separate in business but worked together oftentimes. And then my dad, he had 5 kids and mom, and 2 sons, myself and my brother Dan. And we've kind of assumed farming the what was in the family back in the previous generation, and have carried it on. So that's where we're at today. I was married in '74, and to my wife Dory, and she's been a wonderful asset to the farm, to myself, and we've raised 5 children now, and the youngest is 20, up to about 30, 32, and we're enjoying the grandchildren. We have 8 now, 7 grandsons, 1 granddaughter, so it's a good life. I've got about 720 acres that we farm. Of that, there's about 650 acres that are in row crop that we're certified organic on. We began first field certified in 1987.
What is the philosophy behind your farm?
I love farming, working in the soil, but I would have to say it just goes back to my faith and my firm belief in God as our creator, and just how that all plays into my life. And so I guess my philosophy as farming is to work in harmony with Creator God who made it. And I truly believe that He has a plan, and as we follow close to Him, we'll be successful in our farm operation.
What livestock or crops do you raise?
We have 4 crop types that we currently are using. Corn, and it could be white, yellow, or popcorn. The majority of it in the last years has been popcorn, and now we're introducing some white corn in it. Soybeans have been a stable part. Winter wheat, which we see growing here now, and alfalfa has been our 4th crop.
Are the crops and livestock integrated?
Yes. Yeah, in our livestock we do have a small feeding operation where we buy calves, and then we finish them out and market them privately to people in our local community. We've been doing that since the mid 80s. There's a very natural relationship between the crops and the livestock. The farm produces grain and forage that we feed them, and it works very well because not everything is highly marketable, as far as getting a good organic price, but with our own beef cattle we can utilize that hay and the grain as well, the screenings that come from the corn being cleaned and so forth is very useful in our feeding. The livestock on the other side, the manure and so forth that it produces is a great asset to the crops. And so they both feed each other, I guess you could say. And plus the straw from the wheat and stuff we use as bedding and so forth in the livestock, and then we turn that back into compost, and the cycle just keeps going on.
So how important is biodiversity to your operation?
Well, it's very critical to organic farmer in particular. The different crop types that we grow are important to break up the cycles of pests and disease. The trees and the buffer border areas of grass and other natural plant growth is very helpful in the habitat for beneficial predators. Birds are one species in particular that are very, very helpful in insect control. So there's a nice balance that's needed in an organic farm. I think any farm would benefit from it.
We're surrounded by all these trees here in these shelter belts. Can you tell us the history of these trees?
Yeah, my Uncle Wesley was one that grew up as a young man, I guess, during the 20s, 30s, and saw some difficult years, and the Dust Bowl was in that time, and they saw a lot of erosion from the wind, and he determined and decided that he would not let his soil blow like he had seen in the past, and so he studied forestry some in his school at time at the university, and decided then that he would plant shelter belts. Most everything he did was single row shelter belts, which gave the benefit of the windbreak, but didn't take out a lot of cropland. And as you can see, most of them, like we have here, are the evergreens, which don't affect the crops out in the field like a deciduous tree would.
Would you be able to explain to me the typical crop rotation that you have on your operation?
I'll just start like with corn, and then corn is followed by soybeans, and soybeans, then after harvest we will plant winter wheat, which we have growing here now. The winter wheat then is harvested the following year in early July, and then the field is prepared for alfalfa, and we fall seed the alfalfa. That's done to give us a good start on the following year, where we'll be cropping it 4 or 5 times, and then the alfalfa kind of replenishes nitrogen, and then we'll go back to corn and start the cycle over again.
All right, so what measures do you take to ensure soil retention and quality?
Well, some of it, like I mentioned, my uncle planted trees. The windbreaks are not only a aesthetic, but they do slow the wind down. And you can feel a big difference up in the farmyard, you know, when we're working around the house and the shop, just on the comfort level.
What measures do you take to ensure soil quality and retention?
Okay, in addition to the the shelter belts, we try to tailor our tillage system to prevent wind erosion. As you can see, the farm is pretty flat, and so hills are not an issue right around here. We like to keep the farm as green as we can, as far as something growing all the time. And in fact, this last fall, before the winter freeze hit, we basically had every acre, I should say at least 90% of our acres were green. We either had old alfalfa or new seeded. We had winter wheat, or we had a cover crop of oats planted on the corn stubble. So, and we see that as not only helpful, you know, as far as soil retention, but it's also good for the soil quality. And so we, through rotation, and we also add, manures, composted manure. We use some liquid fish. Occasionally we use some mined minerals like soft rock phosphate, ag lime for calcium, and just a number of other biologicals too that we use to stimulate the life in the soil, which turns into quality.
How do you manage pests and weeds?
Pests and weeds. Well, it's always a challenge, but they have not been a extremely difficult issue, although it is a big challenge. We are not minimum till or no till because of the restraints on chemicals that are required with that, but we don't do any more than we have to in it. We use the rotation as a key thing in controlling pests because it's breaking up the cycles with the different types of crops, and timing is important as well. We do a fair bit of cultivation, and we probably cultivate more than any conventional operation, just because it's required in that we don't have the chemical to fall back on. We've got quite a number of different styles of equipment, some of them that we've kind of designed, dreamt up ourselves, you might say, and we're using cultivators and with auto steer guidance system, using more precision, in cultivating. We're trying to perfect that a little bit. We also have used a flamer in controlling weeds, and a flame cultivator in combination is something we've done a few years now.
How does the landscape of your property affect the grazing and growing operations?
I look at the farm and the landscape, you kind of appreciate the aesthetic part, the trees and the crops that are growing and so forth. Cattle all fit together, and you try to just to blend it together. Everybody has a unique place, and we've just tried to work it together and manage things in a way that we're comfortable with. So we have a comfort level there for us, our family, and but also something that is productive and profitable.
What sort of technology do you use?
We are not engineers, but we enjoy building stuff, and between my son, myself, and my brother and his boys, we're always tinkering with something. Nothing ever stays the same. We're always trying to improve or build something, and my son has been very useful in that area on the farm. He loves to work with metal, and whether it's on a machine lathe or welding, cutting, he's very good at that. And he's built a couple of flamers for us, and it's kind of been fun to see that. What was that question again?
Just what sort of technology do you use?
Technology, okay. You know, beyond the shop, you know, we're using auto steer on the tractors, which has made field operation much more comfortable, accurate. I know we're saving some fuel just with the trips up and down, just because we're doing a better job of it, more efficient. It allows us to do multiple passes and that are repeatable, and at the end of the day, you're not as tired. You can spend more time looking back, adjusting the cultivator without worrying that you're driving off the row up front. We also, you know, use technology with computers, and even in like grain conditioning or grain drying, fan controllers that monitor the humidity and temperature, and allow us to get our crop to a more precise moisture level, which is helpful in marketing. There's technology used in soil testing, not only testing soil, but the testing of the compost and the other components that we utilize to build the soil.
What kind of labor is required for your operation, and do you hire any help?
Organic farming requires more labor. There's definitely more labor involved with that. Right now, myself, my son are the key labor force, I guess you would say, but I have a wonderful relationship with my brother, his family, and even though we may not have our business together, yet we work like a team. And when he needs help or I need help, it seems like we can always depend on each other, and that's been a great asset to the farm. And in the summertime, though, we hire usually a guy through the growing season, a college boy, and then during time when we're roguing beans in the summer, we bring in all the nieces and nephews and anybody else that's willing to get out and get their hands dirty, and we provide some good exercise for anybody that's willing to come.
What are your typical markets?
Typical markets. I don't know if anything is typical in organic farming. We have been blessed to have the Grain Place Foods close to us. They've been a very good market for much of our products that we've grown, and yet we find that there's just a lot of opportunity in marketing. The buyers are usually looking for us, and we sell white corn and soybeans that go to California to a company out there, a large company, and we've got alfalfa hay that goes to Pennsylvania to an Amish dairy farms back there. You know, there's quite a variety of places that you can sell, and marketing has not been difficult. It's kind of enjoyable because we often develop a good relationship with the buyers, And that's part of what we want to do, is to develop that long term and have a trusted relationship with them. Oftentimes the buyers that you talk to on the phone come out and visit the farm every year, and last year we had a couple of them riding the combine with us at harvest time, and it's kind of fun to have that type of relationship in the marketing.
How are you involved in the community?
How am I involved in the community? I am not one that gets involved with a lot of organizations. I have been active in our church and working with kids, there. I enjoy working also with a camp in the area that has a lot of kids that come through every year. And I enjoy when kids or families can just come to the farm and enjoy nature. That's one thing that I like to be involved with, is just teaching and giving kids an opportunity to just get out, get their hands dirty, and enjoy life.
Which aspect of your farm are you most passionate about?
My passion, I guess, as we were just talking even on the last question, is probably just the passion for life. As I look at organic farming, it's a very pro-life type of system, and we look at even like weed control or pest control. The best defense is a good offense, and so we try to stimulate life on the farm, and because in nature, just the way God designed it, the big majority of the bacteria and fungi are good ones that will, when given the chance, they will overpower the harmful stuff. And so I'm just excited. I don't think we've begun to tap the potential in soil quality, and just looking at the farm as a building program for my generation, and going on to my son and whoever may follow. I just see things as growing, and that's exciting to me.
What is the most challenging thing about your farm?
It's hard to just pick out one thing that's challenging, because a lot of it is. Organic farming is very management oriented. There's just a lot of aspects of it that you have to look at. You need to be able to look at the past and learn from it, the mistakes you made or the successes you may have stumbled across. You've got to look at today and just the plans, what you're doing now, and observing just what's taking place. But it all has to be done with an eye to the future, because the things that we do now in this type of operation will affect what happens years ahead. And so it takes a broad outlook, to pull it all together.
How do you see farming conditions changing in the near future?
In the conventional side, I see consolidation. There's fewer farmers, bigger farms. There's a lot of high technology with the genetic altering that's taking place that is peculiar to them. The organic farming is not in genetic altering. I think that we're seeing a growth in the demand for organic grown products, and people want to know where their food comes from and how it's produced, and are concerned about health, quality in that in a way I think that has not been seen in previous generations. So I'm not sure where it's going to all land, because there's two schools of thought, and they aren't coming together necessarily at this time. I think there always will be a good opportunity for organic farming.
How do you define sustainable agriculture?
This is a big question. How do you define sustainable agriculture? I think, for one thing, I guess I look at, there's probably three key parts that I'm going to touch on. One is, you got to be sustainable financially. If not, you won't be here tomorrow to carry out anything else that you might think is important. So it's got to be profitable, and that's critical. I think productivity has to be sustainable. We have to have a system that will produce what the soil is capable of, and to work with that system, because that, and again, feeds the financial side of it. But I also look at sustainability just in, and I don't know if you'd call it from a social aspect or a relational aspect, or how you would necessarily look at it, but I think sustainability on my farm also includes family. And when I say family, I'm not talking just about my blood family, but about families that would or could be involved with us. And I guess I want it to be a enjoyable place for them to come and to feel like they can set root, you know, in a farm, in the place where they grew up, or where their food is produced. I also see sustainability as a system that nurtures. As we nurture the crops, so we also need to nurture each other as people. And I look at a sustainable farm as a place where you're building character, where you learn a lot, but the most important thing you learn is about nature, just the world that God created. And nature really is a great example or a reflection of our God, our Creator, from the very beginning. That is why it's here, it's to reflect His beauty, His order, His glory. And to me, that's you know, if you have a farm that can be very profitable and productive, but yet if you don't have some of those aspects that feed the soul, I think the rest of it is of little value.
What things are you doing on your farm that are considered sustainable agriculture?
As sustainable? Well, I hope that just the fertility programs, you know, that we have is building the soil quality. We've seen over the years crop yields have been improving. Our soil is not being mined. You know, we do test each year for soil analysis, and finding that things are steady to good, you know, to growing. And so we're confident that's aiding in sustainability. Trying to think, You know, we have had the opportunity, as I talked about, just sustainability and relationships. We've been able to have a lot of guests and families come in from cities that have thoroughly enjoyed it, and we continue to do that and enjoy that, even just in community. Every summer we plant a pretty good sweet corn patch, and we have several days there in the late summer that all the family, neighbors, and friends, quite a number, get together. There's probably 40, 50 people over the span of the season that get together and put up sweet corn. And it's just kind of a celebration time. Great entertainment for the little kids, and we're putting away good food for the rest of the year.
What do you intend to change on your farming operation to become more sustainable?
In looking ahead at how we can become more sustainable, you know, I want to continue to grow in our knowledge of the soil and building that. You know, I'm making what plans we can, not knowing what the government's hanging out there for us to sidestep in passing from one generation to another. You know, I don't want to pass our farm on with a major debt to the next generation, but I want for them to be able to receive it as an asset. I want to incorporate actually more livestock, I think, in the future. Right now, you know, we're exporting a lot of our grains and livestock, and I would like to, I'll cancel some of that out. We're exporting a lot of our grains and forages, where if we could funnel that through livestock, it would give us more nutrients kept here on the farm, and there would be less pounds or tons of it exported. And I think it would close the system down a little bit, require less inputs that would be brought into the farm if we could do that. So livestock is one area where I'd like to expand and in the future.
All right, and we're done.
Okay.
Good job.
You know, there was one thing, I guess, maybe back at the beginning, if we
Do you
can.
want to add some more? That's fine.
Yeah. And it's probably kind of on the introduction and maybe my philosophy of farming, that kind of some thoughts I've had. You know, my father was always open to alternative farming or organic farming, and had a real interest in the biological approach. And early in our years, after we were married in '74, my wife and I visited a number of farms that were doing different types of farming, and gathering ideas, went to some seminars and so forth. And I know one thing then that kind of was a moment when you start to see things a little different, an aha moment. We were using chemicals at that time, but when my wife and kids would come out to bring me lunch, I wouldn't be able to let the kids play in the dirt. And I got to thinking, well, we're producing food for the world in a soil that I can't let my own kids play in. And some of that affected my thinking, and I got to questioning, well, is there a system that wouldn't be that harsh on my kids, you know, or that would allow us to do it in a safer way, and so we seriously started then looking at organic farming, and I saw a number of operations that were doing a very successful job of it. Some of them weren't, and but I guess I had enough confidence in what we could do that we were going to give it a try. My uncle was willing but not supportive to let me start dabbling with it, and over the years I think we convinced him that it was a very viable way to go, and by the time he passed away I had earned his support.